take the initiative to bring together this very important meeting today. Thank you all for coming. My name is Joost Taveerne. I'm a member of the Liberal Party in the Netherlands. Currently we are the largest party in Parliament, and also we are leading a coalition government, so we currently also have the Prime Minister. First of all, and I think it's very good that you all are here together, because you're part of the solution of this very important topic. Freedom of press, freedom of speech is one of the key elements of any democracy. It's something that is always under tension of political pressure, but it's something that we all have to deal with in order to have a healthy democracy. As a member of Parliament in the Netherlands, every day I start by reading the newspapers and watching the news. International media, but mainly Dutch. I do this in order to get reliable information about events in the Netherlands and the world, and that's also the way I follow the news about Macedonia. I say reliable information because I consider, and I'm happy that I can consider, the news media in the Netherlands generally reliable news sources. Luckily, this perception is no sign of just my naivety, but it's demonstrated by independent studies. I toned down a little to give the translator time to translate my words. According to the Worldwide Press Freedom Index, by Reporters Without Borders, the Netherlands is ranked 4th of 179 countries worldwide. Macedonia is ranked 94th on that same ranking, even after Congo and Lebanon. That indicates a huge difference. And today we are here to speak about exactly that difference and to share our ideas, experience and practices. Ladies and gentlemen, the freedom to be, think and say what you want is again one of the most basic or more comprehensive fundamental human rights. The freedom of expression is essential for the development of every individual human being. It is the engine for social progress. Development means information, and information means the right to have and to express an opinion. Any opinion, as far as I'm concerned. Any restriction of the right to have an opinion equates a restriction of the possibility to learn the truth. Karl Popper once said, "There is no better way to check the truth than to compete it with an opposite opinion. Without, we would still consider the Earth as the center of the universe." The freedom of expression is also the foundation of the democratic constitutional state. If there is one year that this has been illustrated, it was 2011. Never has freedom of speech been so closely associated with democracy. Like the annual report of Reporters Without Borders states, never have people, through their demonstrating, reporting and expressing their opinion, vexed the enemies of freedom so much. It illustrates why the freedom of speech is the basis of any open and free society. It protects the individual from suppression by the state or any dominant group in society. That makes the freedom of speech primarily a vertical right, a right to protect individuals against unfair government action from above. It forms a necessary counterweight to the power of government. But this also is where the catch-22 lies, as we say in English. Freedom of speech is essential to the function of a democracy, and at the same time, this freedom can only be maintained in strong democracies. Because to deal with the existence of critical media is not always easy or pleasant, not in the least for politicians, as we know. Sometimes politicians prefer to keep information to themselves, or they need time to formulate the answers and to come with the resolutions that the voters expect from us. This is not always possible under the microscope of the media. However, we need to create our own opposition in order to get stronger solutions. Because what applies to every individual also applies to society as a whole. Only if you come to new insights, you come forward. Ladies and gentlemen, in the Netherlands, the freedom of the media was consolidated in the Constitution in 1815. So we have almost 200 years of experience with this liberal fundamental right. At the same time, our history shows that we have to moderate this achievement a little bit. Still, for a long time in the 19th century, it was possible for our monarch to impose restrictions on newspapers and magazines. It was, for instance, forbidden to insult the royal prince or to express sympathy for foreign IDs. Journalists were arrested and thrown into jail. So even with press freedom adopted in the Dutch Constitution, in effect, in those days, it didn't mean that much. To me, this only illustrates that the legal existence of freedom of speech does not guarantee its implementation. Fortunately, times have changed. Today, we are blessed with very high standards in terms of human rights. We have a culture of high tolerance, and judges in the Netherlands have a relatively tolerant position on defamation. Whether it's about criticism of the government, offensive art forms, or harsh statements on sensitive issues in the Netherlands, freedom of expression is considered of the utmost importance and of great value. But this still does not mean that the implementation is always guaranteed. Neither does it mean that everything can be bluntly said. Although the freedom of speech is a universal, fundamental right, it is not absolute. It has to come with some restrictions. First of all, the freedom of speech can collide with other fundamental human rights, such as religious freedom, the right of privacy, or the right of non-discrimination. That is also the paradox of freedom of speech. There is a right to state insulting things, but that freedom is conditioned by its circumstances. It is the challenge of every society to establish a legitimate balance between exercising this freedom and applying limitations. The state needs to show much restraint in assessing restrictions of freedom of expression. This is also formulated by the European Convention on Human Rights, which says that any restriction of the freedom of speech is only allowed in the case of a pressing social need. Most Western liberal democracies have set restrictions of the freedom of expression. In the Netherlands, criminal defamation is distributed over various sections of the penal code, including libel, slander, and insult. This means that you cannot deliberately make public statements for the purpose to harm someone's good reputation or good name. Then it may be slander or libel. But we have to be aware of the fact that our freedoms are in fact only partly determined by the letter of the law. There is no blueprint. There is no simple test if someone or something crosses the line between gossip or libel and defamation. For example, the journalist who writes about a politician having an affair, illustrated with some obscene pictures. Is this slander or libel? Or is it freedom of the press? It depends. In one case, a journalist abuses his position, while in the other case, a journalist is doing what he ought to do, finding the truth and informing the public. Whether something falls under the freedom of the press is always dependent on the specific situation. In this case, it may be that the publication of the affair was a deliberate attempt to blackguard the politician. But it's also possible that the affair is in fact true and that it's in the public interest to be informed because it could make the politician in question to be blackmailed. If something is in the public interest, is always depending on the specific situation and the circumstances. The defense of the freedom of expression is not only in the hands of politicians, judges, or journalists. It is in the hands of every individual. It involves moral and ethic considerations. It is the duty of the people to determine the fine line, what is ethically and socially acceptable, and what is not. And it's in the hands of every individual to stand up to defend the fundamental freedoms, especially when it takes courage to do so. This can be illustrated by the developments in the last